Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is a journey in boots from trauma to triumph. We have a pretty cool guest. So, Dorothy is our co host. I'm Dr. J. Royster, and she's going to introduce him.
Great. Well, I have the distinct pleasure of bringing Officer Philip Pollen Jr. to the show, who is a police officer within the Claremont Police Department. So, welcome, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It's pollen in America. Just saying, Miss Canetta. But I love the about and the ooze, and it's all wonderful. So.
I have a very Canadian family, so don't worry about it. My grandma was born in Canada, Nova Scotia.
Love it. I'm in Ontario. And why don't I just call them by their first names? Because I managed to screw up everybody's last name.
No, you didn't screw it up. It's just your accent. It was just really, really cute. And I just had to bring it out. Pollen. Pollen. Sounds very fancy.
And this is why we love Dr. J.
It's awesome.
I love it. So, Philip, I'm just going to call you Philip or Phil.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about your journey in boots.
Well, I mean, it feels like a really long journey. I'm not that old. I'm 38, but I guess it started when I was about my early 20s. Let's just say that. And my father was a surgeon, so he was always helping people, and I always saw that growing up, and kind of loved the idea of helping individuals. So, unfortunately, going to medical school was not in the financial cards for me. I didn't have anybody willing to pay for it for me, which makes sense. So it's fine. And because I was so young, I couldn't get student loans on my own without a cosigner. So I, at the time, decided to go and enter the fire academy, became a firefighter EMT. And after I became a firefighter EMT, I worked for a while and said, wow, I really need a job. So I said to my wife, I said, where in the country would you like to move? And essentially she said, anywhere with a beach. So I started to look up and down the coastlines of the country and stumbled upon Savannah, Georgia. And at this time I was in Jersey. I'm born and raised in Jersey, and applied to become a police officer in Savannah, Georgia with the Savannah Chatham Metropolitan Police Department. After I applied, I actually got the job. It took about 6 months because it takes a long time to go through the process before you even start. So got that job. I moved down to Savannah without my wife because she was finishing her master's in New Jersey, and went through the police academy, and that's where my journey started.
What's her master's in?
Her master's is in mental health counseling. So
that's right. Just saying.
She has an associate's in psychology, a bachelor's in psychology, and a master's in mental health counseling.
Yeah, she's an exceptional therapist. Yes. We love Lindsay.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to know, if you're from New Jersey, whose side of the family is in Canada?
So my grandmother, my whole family's in Jersey. My grandmother was born in Canada and moved. She's Irish.
I love it. Me too.
Yeah. She's completely Irish. Crawley was her maiden name. Kathleen Crawley.
That sounds familiar. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. And then she moved to America, I suppose, got married, and here we are.
I love that. My great grandmother was from Drury, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Married my grandfather, the sailor, or from the Navy, come to Canada. And here we are. So I love that. Anyways, it's about you, your journey in boots. All right. Awesome.
Phil was in the Navy for a minute too.
Really?
So he's just served everywhere. He's got all kinds of boots.
Yeah, a lot of boots.
So what made you decide to go from Navy to policing?
So it was actually, the order was fire, police,
all right,
Navy, back to police. I went into the Navy when I was 29. So I was a bit older than the average recruit.
Wow. Okay, so why the twists and turns?
A lot of trauma and steps backwards, unfortunately. So initially, it was more financial, obviously. I did have I say rough childhood. I wasn't like beaten and all this stuff. It was more psychological and
Mm,
environmental and situational. And then moved to Savannah, had a bunch of psychological and physical trauma,
yeah.
a tremendous amount in Savannah, Georgia. And then said, I always wanted to be in the military. Now that I'm moving, my wife finished her master's, moved down to Savannah, Georgia, and then she couldn't find a job with her, almost $200,000 degree.
Right.
So we said, you know what? Let's go somewhere where you can get a job. We moved down to Florida, where she was able to get a job as a therapist, and I moved down here and said, well, what better time than now to start my military journey? So I went active duty at 29 into the Navy.
Wow.
And then you realized how much they made and you got right out.
That was rough. Yeah, that was actually something very relevant to this
Yeah.
whole podcast, where I was discharged very early on because of originally just my back hurt. So I went to the medical just to get it checked out, refused all medication, everything. I said, no, I just want to get back to training. And then they sent me to a psychiatrist, my apologies. And after seeing the psychiatrist for about 10 minutes, he asked me about my past, about police work. And I said, oh, yeah, I was a police officer in Savannah. I finished out that job as a full-time robbery, basically SWAT team. It's called a special response team, where we just responded to robberies in progress all day, every day. And I saw a lot of things. And he started to give me I didn't know it at the time, but the PTSD scale
Right.
assessment. And he's asking me these questions. He's like, has anybody ever diagnosed you with PTSD? And I said, nope, I'm good. And he goes, do you have nightmares? I said, of course I do. Like the things I've seen, of course I have nightmares. Do you ever see things that remind you of your traumatic experiences? Obviously, yeah, of course. It's burned into my brain, right? And he's like, you have PTSD. I said, okay, what does this mean? He's like, I'm recommending a separation. I was like, I'm sorry, what? So I tried to fight it a little bit. It's kind of hard when a psychiatrist, who's also a captain, is telling you, no, you're not doing this. You're out because you have PTSD and you had it before you came in. So goodbye. And that's essentially why my discharge occurred. And I come to learn now, actually, that was close to illegal. I was supposed to have been given a chance to rectify it. I was supposed to have been given a chance at treatment. I was supposed to have been given a lot of different opportunities to continue on, and
Right.
never was. And I was actually recommended recently to upgrade it's just a separation, uncategorized discharge. They want to upgrade it to an honorable discharge, and possibly with a disability rating, which
Yeah.
I feel weird about. I don't feel like I served enough. I've always talked to you about that, Dr. J. So, but they're recommending it, and I'm taking it step by step from there.
Like I've told you, the intent to serve and possibly, sacrifice your entire life for your country is enough to validate those services.
I appreciate that.
But we've had this kind of like, I've talked to Phil. I think absolutely he should do this.
Yeah.
Can I add a civilian side of it? Like if you signed up, like Dr. J said, and your intent was not to be discharged, your intent was to serve and protect.
Right.
So
the rest of my life.
Absolutely. Hello. Yeah. It wasn't, and if they did it incorrectly, like you had said, then yeah, it's on them, not on you. So
Right.
hell yeah.
Well, that, and I know you and I know your wife, and I know how hard you've worked for every inch you've ever acquired.
Yep.
So, like, you're not looking for handouts. You
Not
are
at all.
not that
Not
person.
really.
So,
Nope. It's more
when
closer.
someone affords you an opportunity, you should take it.
Yep, and I appreciate that tremendously.
Yeah. 100%.
He's probably still not going to do it, but I threw my 2 cents.
I will.
I can see the wheels turning. At least we planted a seed.
Yes.
So
Correct.
that's what
Yes.
this show is about, is giving
Yes.
everybody seeds of hope.
Yep. Yep.
And, somebody right now is listening to this thinking, well, shit, if Phil's in this position, I was in the same position. let's look into it. And that's
Right.
what part of this show is doing, is giving people hope and saying, hey, if they can, we can too. Let's continue on this journey. And so if nothing else, that's why this came up. And
Absolutely.
I can see the hope. Like, look at that face. It just went from dark to light. I can see it. Anyways, more about you now. Okay, we'll get back to your journey in boots here.
There it is again, a boot. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
So, oh yeah, the Navy. So yeah, I discharged from the Navy. I was in a really dark place when I got out. Obviously, this was 20 years, at least the next 20 years of my life, I thought I had planned out. I get home, and my wife always says that she was on Phil watch, because I was really, in a dark and depressed place.
Right.
And went back to work, just doing some menial job. I was designing and putting together irrigation systems for Disney, actually. And I said, I need to get it together. I need to get back to what I know and what I'm good at. So I applied for another police job with the Claremont Police Department, who I actually just saw you interviewed my chief, Charles Broadway, amazing person. We love him.
Well, Phil's how I met Chief, so
yeah.
that would count.
Wait, is this the third guy that was in that picture that you sent me with?
Yes.
I remember. Okay. I thought you looked familiar. I was just like,
that's
yes.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, we were at lunch and Chief crashed it. It was wonderful.
Oh, is that the photo?
Yeah, I said Dorothy because she was wanting to know who we were interviewing. She likes to put names to faces.
Of course,
so I do my best to try and send her the people. But the thing is, I have a tendency to take a lot of pictures with people, and I just flood her, text messages. She's like, I don't know who's who. And I'm like, oh, that means I have to write everybody out. Okay. But I didn't do that. But I did tell her. But like I said, we have so many conversations. It's hard to keep track of who's who, who's next, what's going on. So
and it's all great. It's all great. Sorry, going back to your journey. Stop, squirrel.
What we do though, he's used to it.
Okay. Yeah,
he's known me for years. He knows I go there.
Yeah, and my story's all over the place, so it's easy to do. So I got the job at Claremont. Oh, I said Savannah. See, all over the place. Got the job at Claremont Police Department. Started off. I had to start all over again. Had to go through the field training. I had to do the crossover exam and test for Florida. Obviously, I passed. Got the job. Started doing field training, and then from there, I started to realize that from my time in Savannah and all of the horrible things I had seen and others would perceive as done, I realized that there's a better way to, I say, gain compliance. You can't arrest your way into compliance, right? It doesn't always work that way. And with my childhood and the things I had to go through there, which was filled with severe mental illness and a lot of other substance abuse issues, not myself, others around me. I learned how to talk to people, and I learned how to really walk on eggshells in a very unhealthy way. And working in law enforcement allowed me the ability to hone those skills to a much healthier way of doing it. And eventually became a hostage negotiator. I went through the schooling, became nationally certified. And I was actually requested as a negotiator by one of the supervisors over the negotiations team.
Yeah, so you were.
Yep. So I was recruited by them. I started to do it. Eventually worked my way into community services, which is basically just we do the events, we do the outreach, we do all the resource connections. And then from there, I became the corporal over the unit. And was placed in the unit that I've been waiting for, which is the mobile crisis unit. So we are partnered, or I am partnered with a licensed therapist, and we actually respond to crisis calls to de-escalate and redirect people from arrest. And my job is to get them connected and to reduce recidivism rates. So their propensity to recommit the same crime over and over again. You have a domestic violence situation, and the I'm going to say stereotypically, the wife is battered and the husband goes to jail. And yeah, it's amazing that we provide resources for the wife. And now we have a husband who's now stewing in jail, angry, going to come out and do the same thing over and over again. Why
Correct.
not connect with him, find out, hey, what happened to you? Where did it go wrong? What happened that made it so that this is your avenue and this is how you deal with conflict? And try to find the crux of the situation and redirect him and find him resources so that he doesn't keep reoffending and keep doing this. And we're saving an entire family and lives, hopefully. So that's what I do now, is not just domestic violence, but all mental illness, all resources. We try to redirect and connect people to those services.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
is that on every police department around the world having that
Nope.
unit?
Nope,
What the hell is it with Claremont? I need to get to Claremont.
They're amazing.
Like,
Yeah.
seriously.
Chief has fostered an environment that allows individuals, especially officers, to be creative and find holes in the system that need to be filled and come up with ideas. Luckily, we were approached in Florida after another agency turned it down to have this program partnered with a mental health facility. That grant has since ended, and since it ended, I made it so that the therapist is now employed by the Claremont Police Department. We actually took the one I was working with that agent, the mental health facility, and we kind of stole her, and we hired her. And the chief was on board from the get-go. Yes, we will allocate and put this into our budget and have it approved, and we are going to hire a licensed clinician to be on our team full-time.
Yeah, she's very good. She came
Yep.
from what, Maryland or Massachusetts?
Massachusetts. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
she's really sharp.
Yeah, she is the top, the highest licensure in drug and alcohol counseling in Massachusetts. She has 2 master's degrees, CAGs, which
Yep.
is like just below a doctorate. Yep.
Right.
And she's, I think, applying for a PhD program right now. So she's always going and going and going.
She's sharp.
Yes, we love having
really
her. Her
like
name is Mary. Mary Danielle is her name.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
this
she
is what we
replaced
do.
Norman. That's how I met Phil, is through Norman. Because
Norman worked through the grant.
was part of the grant.
Wait, so Norman does that too?
He was. Not anymore.
That's how I met Norman. That's how I met everybody. Is I was the corporal in the mobile crisis unit, and the person that LifeStream, which is the larger facility, the mental health facility that hired the clinician, they hired Norman, and Norman came into the Claremont Police Department to work with me. And that's when I first met him, and I was like, oh, this guy's interesting and gigantic. And I love him.
Right? I hear you. I met him for the first time a couple weeks. I mean, like, dude, everything everybody's been saying is 100% true.
Yeah,
the guy is the most gentle giant.
Oh yeah,
freaking huge.
Yeah, and he has so many like sayings and everything. My wife calls them Normanisms.
Yes.
So he'll
He's
like,
got his own language.
Yeah. So when something's off with somebody's like their mood, it's like what does he say? Something like it's like I'm an asparagus and Mars is in a reverse cowgirl.
Pretty much,
it's like,
yes.
what?
But it's enough to get them out of the moment, and he needs that.
Yeah, but it breaks up the monotony. And when you're in a mood and he starts saying little things like that, it's like, wait, what? So it snaps you out of it a bit. But but it evolved eventually where we created our own team, and this is what we do. And I've expanded it even more, where I found in Florida we have no resources. Florida is the worst state for funding in mental health. And that is an absolute shame because we have so many, number one, sex offenders, and 2, mentally ill individuals and drugs. That's a horrible combination of things, right? Depending on who you are. And
hold on, but you have a chief at the head is giving you guys the resources you need. Like he talked about the Lighthouse app, and now you're telling me that you have this special program. I would like to know, even with all this shit that's being thrown at you that you just said, I would like to know the numbers between your department and other departments on like the number, like, because if you really rehabilitate a guy that has repeatedly beat the shit out of his wife, like not only does that, well, less work for you guys in the end because you don't have to go to these calls. But number 2, you rehabilitating a whole entire family.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
my mind is blown right now. I worked in a women's shelter before, and I've seen, the after effects of seeing the women, and I was just like, well, wait a minute. No one talks about they're all about, get her the help she needs. Well, you're right.
Yep.
What about the abuser?
Right. No, absolutely. And they're often forgotten. And, even when the situation, not that I'm like sympathetic to what he did, or sorry, I'm plugging my computer in because it's
Got
low. Not only is he being abandoned, any sense of abandonment for certain people is going to cause them to de-escalate and decompensate even more. So, and when they receive that call from us, it's actually it's odd because they're like, I'll call and be like, "Hi, this is Phil. I work with the Claremont Police Department." I never say I'm Corporal Pollen because that's not who I am. That's what I am, right? So, hi, this is Phil, Claremont Police Department. I'm a police corporal with the Claremont Police Mobile Crisis Unit. You're not in any trouble. That's how I always start, right? You're not in any trouble. This is completely different. And in fact, ignore the fact that I just said I work for the police department. I'm here to offer you resources so that you don't ever have to go through this again. Because who has ever said that to that person before?
Nobody.
No one, especially
9
not the
times out of
offenders.
10, they probably got the crap beat out of them. That's why they're doing it. And now they're living in trauma and have no idea, or mental health issues. Anyway, sorry.
And a lot of people have heard of ACEs, right? The adverse childhood experiences. And I'm not saying that's the end all be all of assessments for childhood trauma.
No,
However, it's a pretty good start.
Look, and anything above a 5 or a 6.
Anything over a 4 anything over a 4, you increase your risk of certain adverse events such as mental health, physical health, things along those lines. Men who have over, I think 4, have like a 46 times the chance of injecting drugs in their lifetime. Like it's an insane connection between these events.
Trauma causes all.
Absolutely. So I actually teach it to officers. Every new officer that comes to the agency goes through me and learns essentially an entry-level negotiations class and de-escalation class in order to recognize what they're seeing on the road. And I'm really pushing towards a trauma-informed approach to law enforcement. That's one of the biggest things I'm trying to do is a trauma-informed approach to law enforcement so that we could respond. And instead of just being like, wow, this guy's really a dick, the cop goes, wow, what in the world did this guy go through in his lifetime?
Yeah.
Let me approach this differently.
Yes.
I'm not going to meet him up here, right? I'm going to stay down here and be like, hey, I'm not here to hurt you. Right?
The worst phrase you can use with someone in crisis is "What's wrong with you?"
Absolutely.
It's what happened to you.
What happened to you? Yep. Where did this start? You're really angry? When's the like Norman? You guys taught me. When's the first time you could remember being angry? Right? Mm-hmm. Even that little tools. Like, what advice would you give that little 5-year-old you when being angry for the first time that you could remember? What's the advice you would give you then? Right? And something like that. And they're like, wow, I never really thought about this. Why am I angry? So
and there's sometimes they can just have that conversation and alleviate a lot of their stress.
Yeah.
Because it does build. Like I said the other day, you go into, your primary care's office and they have this, happy to sad SUDS level, and you choose what level of distress you're in. And once they do that, you use, there's thousands of tools out there, but some are quick and they're Band-Aids and some have healed the wounds. It just depends.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So that's what I do. I have a bunch of jobs. I have a lot of jobs in the police department. Most of them are related to mental health.
It's crazy.
Your
whiteboard is filled to the brim.
Yep. And I have a lot of things outside of work that I'm working on too. A couple actually pretty interesting projects. So I'm busy usually.
Well, can you share?
Yeah, sure. So one of them is I'm writing a book. I play Dungeons and Dragons.
I see that on your CV.
Yep.
Love it.
So I had to put it on my CV because I use a lot of critical thinking skills, right? So I play Dungeons and Dragons every Thursday, and I wanted to create a book that's about mindfulness and de-escalation and all that sort of ties into Dungeons and Dragons. So I've actually gotten the book mostly written. I actually came up with a title recently. I have to read it because I just came up with it. It's Critical Hits: Rolling Through Life with Mindfulness and Purpose.
Nice.
So the reason I connected with the D&D and named it that is because it'll have multiple chapters. You'll have a D20, which is a 20-sided dice, and you roll that dice, and it'll come up with a number, obviously. So if I roll a 14, I go to chapter 14 when I'm escalated, and I read the exercise that's at the end of that chapter, which could be breathing, right?
I love
And then
that.
and then you roll the dice again, and it says it's a 3, and you're going to do 3 sets of, and roll it again, 5 breaths. So you have this tactile device that you're using
Yes.
that helps with just de-escalation in general.
Well,
Your mind
focus
is
your
off of it.
numbers.
Yep, and then you're rolling, which is another thing that you're doing that you're not paying attention to, and it's random, which kind of causes anxiety for some people, but it's a little bit of exposure there. It's like, oh man, how many am I going to have to do? What chapter am I going to get? Right? It's a little bit of unknown tied in with the mindfulness, so it gets you sort of excited, like you're playing a game.
Yes.
And it's going to be different exercises like good deeds, right? So I want you to do this many good deeds throughout your day today. Now, you're not going to roll a 20 and do 20 good deeds. You could, but that's a little overwhelming. So I cap each chapter at whatever's reasonable for that exercise. So good deeds might be like 4. So if you don't get a 4, you have to re-roll until you get somewhere between a 1 and a 4. And then
When's this book coming out?
I'm writing it. I'm hoping to have it done by probably the next 3 months. I'll have
Do you
it
have a
done
publisher?
written. I don't.
Do you need one?
I do.
Okay.
I have a few that have reached out, but I want a good one that's going to want to publish it
I got
and
one.
actually get it out.
Yeah.
When you're done, when you're ready, let me know, because seriously, this should be
Everywhere.
I have a lot of people that are really excited to read this book.
Mhm.
And
I
each
am.
chapter,
I'm willing.
100%.
Well, I'm ready to sell it for you.
All right,
Yes.
I appreciate it. And my goal is not to make money on this. I don't care if it sells for $1. I want this information out there, because even the breathing chapter, I'm not just saying, okay, do this exercise. I'm explaining what oxygen does inside your body to reduce your anxiety level. I'm explaining how different types of breathing, prolonged exhalation, skip breathing, 4 counts, all these different things, and tactical breathing, how they each work and what they're beneficial for. So it actually goes into detail, has some humor because I'm a little quirky, and it's tied in with D&D. So I'll have an oxygen molecule dressed up like a knight fighting a dragon that happens to be the CO2, right? So it's funny. And it's going to be really cool, I think, and I'm excited.
You have to make
to
money
do
off
it.
of it because it costs money to put it on Audible.
Correct.
Okay?
Yes.
And
100%.
next
And
time
give
you
it to
put
charity
it off,
if you don't
need
want
to
the
buy.
Yeah.
Because I sold a bunch of books for you. See how this works.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
cool to me. I'm just saying. But I have hundreds of clients and they could all benefit from this.
Yep.
Lots of people with anxiety, lots of people who cannot stay in the moment and
Right.
be mindful. And, there's one little trick. It's like 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you smell, 2 things you taste, 1 thing you touch, and go through the numbers to switch the hemispheres of the brain, but also to keep you in the moment, because anxiety is about the past or the future. It's never about the present.
Of course.
And I think people lose sight of that a lot. They
Yeah.
want to control what's happening next because heaven forbid anything happened that happened before.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So
Dorothy?
I like, oh my God, between Captain and Phil here, like, you have no idea. Like, seriously, you're basically changing the entire world by starting in your police department, because I'm going to take what you guys are doing and I'm going to bring it to the world and change. We're going to change every department so that we can change the world. And seriously, because I believe police officers, between police officers and our military, they change the world. It starts with you guys, right? So if anybody's in trouble, they go to the police, but you're also feared too. And so let's change that. In some cases, not every, and anyways, but if we change that, and you were really rehabilitating not only the officer with your with your struggles, your PTSDs, your what you see, like you said, you can't go through these things and not be affected in some way.
Sure.
So if we heal you in the inside, which means you're going to heal the outside world, done. Like will be Dr. J will be without a job.
Phil has to put that's true. Phil has to put this in a package, and he's got to put a cost on it so that he can replicate himself.
Yeah. Well, yes.
And he's not great at doing that. So Dorothy, he needs some assistance.
Yeah. And I always say, like, this whole thing, everything that I'm doing, even the other project that I'm working on, I feel like they're self-serving because, like you mentioned, healing the world, and on top of that, me doing these things, this is how I receive peace.
Right.
Also, right? So me, I say having a purpose, me being able to spread peace and calm to other individuals so that they don't have to feel the things that everybody feels, the things that I've felt, the trauma that I've been through. I don't want other people to ever feel that and to think that they're stuck feeling that forever. So that's why I do this, on top of it's the right thing to do, right? I always just want to do the next right thing. And I always want to treat people with respect. And actually, one thing that I always say is I treat people based on the content of my character, not theirs.
Yeah.
And that's because I'm always going to treat people the way that I feel I need to treat people. And I'm not going to change the way I treat somebody based on their character. It's all based on me, and it all starts with me. It's the only thing I can control. So
100%. And can I add one thing here?
Of course.
So I get you don't want to charge for your services, but what if you charged to get this into departments, and then if you don't want to keep that money, because it costs money to do everything. You're traveling, you're doing this, you're doing that, your time away from your wife and your family, that all takes time and money and effort. But if so, you hear me out. If you don't want to keep the money, then you give it back to the community. You give it back to other charities and organizations. And, there's a cost to doing everything. So wait a minute. If you don't, so the initial person gets pays for it, but then you can help other people that can't afford it to come alongside you.
Yep.
So please, and you're doing it for yourself, but like, seriously, we need to change.
Services don't have value unless there's a cost.
100%. They're not going to do it if they didn't cost.
True.
It just is. I've given away thousands of hours of my time, and it was not appreciated. So, with that, like, there is value in your time. There's value in your service. There has to be some sort of investment from them, right? For you to ensure that your product is effective.
Yep.
Because they're not going to buy into it if there's not some kind of value.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yep. And I can see that for sure.
I'm so glad we're having this
I
conversation.
also know that Audible costs a lot of money to do, so you're going to have to sell the books in order to put it on Audible.
Because it's not coming out of your pocket, sir.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know a lot of people that go broke changing the world. Trust me, I did it for 3 years. Now I quickly wisened up and said, oh no.
I think we've all invested in things that didn't work out, but we've learned valuable lessons and we just keep moving.
Yep. 100%. So anyways, what motivates you? I know we kind of alluded to it, but what really motivates you?
So, I mean, motivation for me has changed so much over time, right? Initially, may have started off as I need to get out of my house. I need to leave this toxic environment. I need to get away and run away. And I think it has slowly evolved into, I do have value, kind of tying into what we were just talking about. I'm realizing I have value. I'm not just the person that has to walk on eggshells all the time and hide in a corner. I'm the individual that can actually do outreach and help based on my experiences. So I think my motivation, like I mentioned earlier, is mostly knowing that I I have a purpose, and that purpose is at least showing people that there is hope, right? And hope is one of the things in my class that I teach is, there are different things that cause people to go into crisis. And that's like the loss of a loved one, the loss of money, loss of a job, loss of a lot of things. So loss creates crisis generally, but there is no loss like hope, right? Once you
Correct.
lose hope, it's done. Not permanently, but that person is done until somebody says, whoa, 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 hang on, get back over here, right? And then return that hope a little bit. And I think
Yes.
bringing hope to people has really been my purpose. Summed up, I know I wrote a whole thing on like my motivation. This is really summed up what my motivation is providing hope to people.
And I have a feeling this is the first book of many, so this will be pretty.
Probably.
Love it. I absolutely love it. Love it. If you I wrote down bringing hope to people equals giving purpose, or however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
If you bring purpose to people, that gives them hope. If they don't see a possibility, there is no hope.
Sure. And it gives me purpose. And that's my hope, right? Is that I'm actually providing value to somebody else's life, because I don't need to add value. I don't need to give myself things for me to feel value. I don't need people to praise me for me to feel value. I need other people to feel capable for me to feel good. And I like to give. I'm a it's one of my love languages is giving. So
right.
I got that. As a giver myself, I totally get you. Love it. And so I see here that you've won some awards. Tell us a little bit about those awards.
Yeah, so it's funny. The one that
Did you just see his face? He's like, "Oh,
I'm not good at this."
I know.
Like I said, this isn't what adds value to me. This is, but okay. So there's the one that's on there that I haven't received yet, but I was awarded it, but I receive it on June 11th, and I think actually Dr. J is going to be at that conference possibly. I don't know if you're going to be at that award dinner though, with the chief. So the association, the Florida Chiefs of Police Association. I can't remember what the exact line is.
It's one of the ones.
It's one of them. I was just awarded the Rocky Pomerantz Law Enforcement Excellence Award. And that is a award that is awarded generally to a group of people or a program at an agency that is changing law enforcement for the better. I was fortunate enough to win this by myself. This award is going to me and not as a group, which is really cool, and I appreciate tremendously. And it's for creating a program called COAST, which is essentially when the grant ended and we lost our program, our funding, I needed to find a way to fill in the gaps of the system that Florida has created without it costing too much. Mm-hmm. So essentially, I created a program where I reach out to a bunch of community partners in all facets of resource land, whether that's finance, education, mental health, medical, whatever you can think of exactly. And I will talk to them and say, hi, I'm a poor police corporal with the Claremont Police Department. I have no funding. However, our community needs us. And I will enter into an agreement with this individual. I'll give them like a plaque that says like, you've agreed, yay. It's all good forward. However, everybody should like giving like I do. So what I do is I create a program with that individual or an agreement with that individual. And when I find an individual on the road or road patrol finds somebody or a family that needs help. So let's go back to that domestic violence situation. Dad's arrested. Mom now has a child and no job. And the child needs to go to childcare because now mom needs to go get a job. So she needs money. She needs childcare. She probably needs mental health help. The father now needs mental health help and probably legal fees. So I'll reach out to individuals within the community that provide those things for a cost generally, right? And I will enter into an agreement with them well before these things happen. And Road Patrol will send me that email on what these needs are, and I send that email out to all of my resources that provide those things. The one that can step up and say, you know what, I got this. they reach back out to me and they say, I'm going to take care of this thing. I'm going to take care of this part. And then another one goes, I'm going to take care of the mental health aspect. And now they're connected with these resources, and the community is helping the community. So we're not relying on insurance so much. Of course, sometimes some places just need to get paid. I get it. Like you said, things have value and have a cost. The idea is for it to be at least at cost or for free.
Right.
And they can provide
Who's
at least.
sponsored?
Exactly.
You know,
So at
there's
least,
a lot of organizations that sponsor, and that's why Phil calls me when he's got a veteran in distress, is because he
Yep.
knows that I have a sponsor for that person who's on Medicaid or not insured at all. He's just like, hey, Janelle, I got so-and-so. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And I try not to do, it's not like weekly or multiple times a week.
No.
It's every few months, possibly.
Right.
So, because otherwise I'm connected to a veteran too. Like if they just need like medical care, it's like, well, let's get you set up with the VA. Just start, right? I know it's not great, but let's start somewhere.
Right.
However, these partnerships get the community. It's so many different benefits that people don't realize. Is one, it's getting the community invested in its own community, right? It's not like, oh, let's call the police to solve the problem. No, guess what? You're going to call the police, and the police are going to go like, no, you're coming with me.
Right.
Like, you recognize this, you have a skill set, and this person is struggling. We're going to help them together, even if it's for a short time until we can get them on their feet, and then they start paying you, right? So Coast essentially connects the community with the individuals in the partners in the community that can provide resources to get us up off of our feet, or onto our feet, and then back into the workforce and in the right mental state to be able to care for ourselves. I don't remember the original question.
Your award. So you
yes,
got the award.
So that's what I created. That's what I created in order to get that award. I'm nominated right now for the 40 under 40 for the International Association of Chiefs of Police. I've received a life-saving award through intelligent means. So that was for a negotiation where I negotiated somebody out of a car that had a gun to their head. I don't have the list in front of me. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. And like, I'm just mind blown by
it's
seriously.
It's ridiculously long.
No, well, and yes. So I have the list here. So this is the list. If you want it, why did I say Rocky Mountains?
It's where we all want to be.
Right. The Rocky Pomerantz Law Enforcement Excellence Award, the Outstanding Law Enforcement Officer of Lake County, Chiefs Achievement Award, Life Saving Award. I don't know how to say that, so I'm not going to bother.
Meritorious.
Thank you. Service Award, Outstanding Unit Award, Departmental Commendation Award, the Good Conduct Award, Instructor Expert Award, Education Award, Assignment Award, Officer of the Quarter, Marksmanship Award, a Disaster Response Award. Holy crap. And he built a program. And he built a program within the department that
he's writing a book and is pursuing his further education. So,
and I have another project that I'm working on that's like, I actually wanted to ask Janelle, I think I may have mentioned it to you, but I got a bunch of people I need to ask if they want to be a part of it. Oh, her cat turned her camera off.
I didn't know she had a cat. There was no cat there the last one I was there.
There is today.
Surprise!
That is awesome. Like, wow. And it takes money to complete your education too. So,
I'm struggling with that at the moment because I don't want to take out loans and I can't afford it with cash. We don't make enough. And
so the book will help cover the cost of your education.
Correct.
Yes.
You're welcome, sir. You just need to finish it so I can get it out there.
Yep, I'm working on it.
Oh yeah, well, totally. Pollen's definitely going to sponsor a show here in a minute, so you will get your advertisement, sir.
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
100%. Well, and not only that, like, okay, we're going to talk off air about what I have next, but I won't put you on the spot. But okay, so tell us something that most people don't know about you.
Mm.
Oh man. But I mean, I suppose one of the things I mentioned earlier, which was I played Dungeons and Dragons. Um,
Yeah, but everybody knows that. Come on, give us
I
something
mean,
good.
I'm something good. I mean, I'm introverted is not a good one.
Well,
I wear everything on my sleeves. Like I'm not a secretive person. So there's a lot of things that like I don't really know what people don't know. um,
well, I don't know you at all, other than what you just told
right,
me. So,
right. Man,
What do your wife and you like to do a lot?
a lot. Well, we go to Disney a lot. Um, we like to travel a whole lot, except money, of course. We are going on a Disney cruise to Alaska for our 15-year anniversary.
Yes.
That is coming up really soon, May 18th. That's going to be
no
for a
way.
week. I'm
Yeah,
so
he'll be on a
excited.
cruise same time I am, but we're going
Yep.
in two different directions.
Yeah, I'm flying into Vancouver on the 17th, and then sailing out the next day, and I can't wait. But we love to travel. We like to just be quiet and alone and relax.
I love that. Yes, I seen on your CV that you definitely love to travel. And where's the one place that you would really want to go to? Or we'll start with that one, and then the next question is that you've already been. What's the most exotic
So,
or favorite place you've been to
oh man.
already?
So a place that I really want to go, it's between two different places. The first would probably be Japan. I've always wanted to go to Japan. Um, I just love the culture. I love the food. Sushi is my favorite food in the world. Um, and then also Australia is another place that I've always wanted to go.
Good
Don't
day,
know
mate.
why. Yeah, it's hot and it's dangerous. So I'm not too sure why I want to go there, but I do. um,
You're a cop. You can handle yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You're an officer.
yeah,
It's like, let's go. With
I
danger.
can't carry
I
though.
laugh at the sight of danger.
Yeah, well, my weapon, as we all know, is mostly my mouth. Like I don't bite people, but I talk. So, um, and then exotic places. So, I mean, it wasn't really exotic, but I loved Quebec. I loved Quebec City. When I went to Quebec City, I've been to Grenada. Grenada was really great.
Dorothy's going sideways. You need to reel her in, Phil.
Oh, I'm thinking of his weapon is his mouth. Well, all here is
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to speak very nicely to you while I kick your ass.
You smile a lot. You'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
awesome.
I don't speak the language, but I'm sorry. I'm so
Right,
sorry.
right. I'm going to be saying the right things. They just won't be able to understand me because it's not Japanese.
My mind goes everywhere. I'm sorry. It's just
It's okay.
that's who I am.
I have to reel myself in because I'm one of the most inappropriate people in existence.
I
So
don't know.
I get
I
myself
think
in trouble.
Norm's got us all beat, but
I don't think he does. I've said things that have made Norm go, "Oh my God." Yeah.
well, because they come out
Oh,
of
yeah.
your mouth.
I think that might be
We
why.
don't
Yeah.
anticipate that.
Right. It's like if I was angry at somebody, they'd be like, "Wow, this is scary," because I don't get angry at people.
Right.
Yeah, you don't give off that vibe.
No, but I have my moments. Not angry. I don't usually get angry. Anger is not a thing for me. Even I see a psychologist every Wednesday just because everybody should.
Yes.
And her name is Anna, and she's like, anger doesn't come up a lot when you're talking about things that you've been through. Even things that should make the normal person furious, I still don't feel anger for it. It's mostly like self-deprecation, right? As we do, because you can't attack the person that did it to you. Why not attack yourself? And frustration. So yeah, anger doesn't really come out with me.
Well, thank you for like sharing. Number one, that you did say you just said that you see somebody weekly. That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yep.
Love it. Thank you for sharing the vulnerability on that, because I know that as a police officer, I know that historically that's not how people are perceived and the whole culture of that. But your
false
department
resilience
is changing that.
Right.
Your department is totally changing that, and I love it. So, what is your best moment on the job?
My best moment, single moment, or what I do?
Single.
Single.
my
We
best
know what you
moment.
do. We know you love what you do. I mean, you've turned down
Yeah,
promotions because you love what you do.
I turned down a $150,000 year job recently,
Yep.
because I love what I do.
Yep.
Um, Topped out at 212. I might be regretting it, but anyway.
No, that just shows us who you are. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people would jump at the chance at 150K, but then
Yes.
when we look at what that entails, we're like, that's not
Giving
what
up
I
who I
want to
am.
do.
Yeah, I'm giving up what I love to do. But moment. So like you mean like a funny moment in work that has happened to me?
Just a great moment,
Yes.
something that like made you feel,
Like
yeah,
being a police officer, this moment was why I became a police officer.
yeah,
It happens actually often, more often than I thought it would. So it's not a single moment, but it is a single event that occurs recurrently. And it's when officers come to me and say, I need help with something. And or when I'm on a call and it's something that's we know how to respond as a police officer, right? Like, oh, I could pull my gun, or I could threaten them with cuffs, or I could threaten them with this, or yell louder than that person. But they know that I'm there and there's another way. It's just not the easy way. And they all look at me like, what do we do? What do we
hmm
do that's not what I was taught?
right.
And I say, and then I go, oh, it's my time, I guess. And I look over at the person that we're dealing with, and it just turns on, and I start talking to them like a human being, right? Something that we're not taught to do in the police academy, which is treat somebody like a person. I'm
Mhm.
not saying we treat people like animals or like criminals all the time. However, we're taught to be the authority figure and not to let our guard down. You can be physically on guard, but your mind doesn't always have to be, I'm the boss. And I think those are the moments that I love the most is when people look to me and I give them an answer and it works, and then I see them use it later on and it works for
Right.
them too. Right? Those are the moments that I love the most.
Cool. So I have to ask this since, I don't get to speak to too many police officers. So I have the circle, the hostage negotiation. What's the best part that you like about the hostage negotiation?
Uh, the best part for me is actually coming up and evolving the training. It's not even necessarily doing it because I'm stressed like crazy every time I do it. The last time I actually, no, sorry, the time before last that I was called out to negotiate with somebody, it went well. Nobody like died. It's not a good way for me to
That's
start a
always good.
story. But I did end up tackling the person. But I tackled them after I got them to put the gun down and step away from it. My favorite thing about negotiating, though, is taking what I've learned, researching new theories and ways to speak to people and different orientations of psychology, and actually implementing it into the training and teaching it to new officers. My wife is a therapist, licensed therapist, and her theoretical orientation is Adlerian. So Alfred Adler was a psychologist back in his day, and he came up with this really person-centered community connection theory that made sense in her worldview. And I hear her talking about it a lot. I'm like, wow, that really makes sense to me too. So I started researching and studying Adlerian therapy, and not to provide therapy. I don't provide therapy. Don't sue me. Um, oh my God, I'm in America, so you got to be careful with that these days.
It's true.
Um, so
You could
I
life coach
researched.
it all day, though. Just
Yep,
life coach
absolutely,
it.
absolutely.
It's
I get
fine.
to talk to somebody. I'm not charging. Um, so I will implement Adlerian therapy and Adlerian principles into negotiations and into de-escalation and connection and communication and teach that to officers. So that's my favorite thing about negotiations and being on the team. So I'm the team leader. So I'm responsible for training the officers. Um, and another thing that's my favorite about it also, It's kind of a psychological thing. You know how they say like you're either SWAT or you're not. Like these people, they'll train and they'll learn it. And it's not just SWAT; it's other things. They learn these special skills and then they hold on to them like, this is me. You can't have this knowledge. I'm not going to give it to you. I love to share, which is not always good for me because I'm not making money. But I love to gather this information, put it together in a way that makes sense, that changes things, and to give it to everybody. Like
Well,
I'm the
that's why
lead
you need
negotiator.
somebody like Dorothy to stand, because I do too.
Yeah.
I have a tendency to just give
Yep.
stuff away and here, just go heal the world, go do your thing. And Dorothy's like, no, ma'am, you have car payment. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
I do.
Yep. I like to share my information. So I don't want to be the only person that knows this. I don't need to be the best at it. I want somebody else to be just as good as me and then improve it.
Right.
You know, there's an end goal and it's not me.
Sir, I think you're like my twin, only male form. I get you. And it took me hitting rock bottom financially to go, well, wait a minute, you know, I have the biggest heart in the freaking world. However, it's okay that my family needs to eat and support my family.
Correct.
And I get that, you know, I'm just going to say it. I do want to be a millionaire so that I can help other people more. Like,
Yes.
I get it doesn't have to come from my pocket. However, that's the type of person that I'm giving it away anyway. So why not I make the money so that I can help support these organizations and, you know, and help them help more. So it's not a bad thing to want to monetize it. And trust me, this is 3 years of talking to a coach and a therapist myself to get me to this level. Because I get you. I want to give everything for free. I want to heal the world. I want to make everything roses and sunshine. And all the free stuff that I've given away, nobody has used it because there's been no value to them. They haven't, you know, and trust me, I've spent thousands of dollars in coaching and therapist myself to get to this point. And we're gonna help you get your stuff out there. But that's
and I'd love to write the forward of your book or
I already have you in mind. It's already written down on my list of things.
I would love
just
to.
Haven't asked you yet.
Well, it sounds like we got other things to talk about. You got other things in that big old pot of yours.
I do. Yep. I got one more big project that I'm working on. I say big. It could be big.
It will be.
Yep.
You're you. I have no doubt.
Do you want to share or not yet?
I can share a little bit about it. It's kind of counterintuitive to the project to talk too much about it. I know it sounds weird. So it's essentially going to be a project called the Talk to Me Project. And my idea is my wife and I were walking down near the waterfront area in Claremont and along the lake. And it's super popular for people that are running, biking, walking, not too much drugs, which is good. But people generally doing good things, but we're all in our own mind space. I'm looking at all these people, I'm like, I wonder what they're thinking. I wonder what they're thinking, you know, because that's what I do. And I was like, you know, it'd be really cool if I could sit down on one of these benches with the skills that I have and just put a sign out that says, if you're having a rough day, talk to me. And they come and they sit down and they just talk to me. And I'm not giving therapy. I'm just listening, and I'll have my resource list right there next to me. So essentially what I'm going to do, and I want to do this, this is the counterintuitive part, I want to do this anonymously. I'm hoping
Which
the
means
entire
he's
city.
just in a t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was even thinking about hiding my face. I don't want people taking a picture of me and like sharing, like, this is what he's doing, and then look, it's all about him.
Put hair on, we wouldn't know who you are.
True, that is true. I'm like one of those. Remember those things with the magnetic beards where you shook it and then you draw the beard on it? That's what I am. Yeah, I'm that. I'm that face. So my goal was to anonymously, so nobody could find out who I am, have a sign that says "Talk to me," and I'd sit there, and people that are having a rough day can just come up, sit down, and talk to me, and other people that I choose that are within the same skill set and mindset as I am. No cost whatsoever. It's just, and I have the whole resource book right next to me, where the person's like, "Yeah, I can't get past this." And I'm like, you know what? Let's talk, tell me more, right?
Mhm.
Norm's best line ever, by the
Yes.
way, is they stop talking, you go, tell me more. um,
Every
you know,
therapist has said yes.
It is. It absolutely is a therapist trick. The other one is
Yep.
the last two, especially if you're not paying attention, the last two words they use in a
Uh-huh.
sentence, you rephrase those into a question and they think
Uh-huh.
you're involved.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a yeah. Yep. So like minimal encouragers and reflective listening.
Reflective listening. See how this works?
Yeah,
Get him to elaborate and expound upon what he was saying.
absolutely.
And then hopefully they pay attention.
Hopefully, hopefully.
9
But yeah,
times out of
that's
10, somebody just wants to be listened to.
100%. Yep. How many times? And that's one of the main things where an officer will say to me, "How did you do that?" Right? I get that question a lot. Or I could never do that because it would be so difficult. Or you get that random occasional joke where it's like, "Oh, I wouldn't be able to negotiate her. I would just tell them to jump and get it over with." Of course, they wouldn't. It's just that dark humor that comes out of us, and they don't realize how technically easy it is, right?
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah.
following a set of prompts in your mind. Like, one, you should be talking less than 20% of the time. It's 80% them talking at least, right?
Yes.
Um, so, and that's what I tell them is it's just listen to them. When was the last time somebody listened to this person? Certainly not their significant other, which caused this whole fight,
Mhm.
right? Just
Mhm.
listen to them, even if you don't agree. And when I say validate their feelings, like, no, I'm not going to validate that. They just beat their wife. It's like, I'm not saying agree with them. I'm saying tell them it makes sense that they were frustrated.
Right.
It makes sense that you were angry. It's just the way that you handled it was a little bit off, right? Right? Let's find another coping mechanism for you. Um, and yeah,
Well, I
just
love it when people use absolute language. Like, I could never do that. Who says?
then don't.
Who says? But who says you can't?
Right, exactly. No,
And
they don't
you're like,
want to try because
well,
because we
no.
exist, because we do. So why should they?
Right.
And that's a mentality that's really strong within these male and alpha mentality dominated fields where it's like, that's not my job. No, that's what he does. He does the touchy feely stuff, so I don't have to. And when he's not here, I'm not gonna. And then
Right.
it escalates or it just ends in a law enforcement way, which continues the mentality that cops are bad or makes you feel, yeah, it's us against them. Wear my Punisher, skull on all my stuff. It's like, stop it. Stop it. This is what you do. It's not who you are. And it's what I call the false resilience.
Yes.
So it's the officers that are like, no, I don't need help. I'm good. No, if I can't handle it, then I shouldn't be in this job. Anybody that can't handle this stuff shouldn't be in it. That's all false resilience. That doesn't exist. There are times that people are going to be struggling. Stop faking it.
So,
And
because you bridge the gap between, policing and mental health, what do you think about, these events that, officers make bad choices, which turns out on national television? I'm sure you
um,
have something to say about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I get a lot of pushback because, and I'm not saying I'm on either side because I get the law enforcement side, right? I've done this job and I've made stupid mistakes, none that have gone national or deserve to be national, but like you're like, ooh, wait, maybe that wasn't the best choice. However, when an officer does something that they shouldn't have done, no matter really how small it is, if there was a way that they could have controlled the outcome differently and they chose not to, they deserve to be called out. The issue comes when I hate to say the media, when society takes that issue, ignores the cops that are saying, yeah, that was wrong and that was bad and something needs to change, and they spread it like we are against them. That's where it becomes an issue. I'm not against people having outrage and anger towards an individual that did something stupid. But when they do to law enforcement what they feel law enforcement is doing to certain groups in our community, That doesn't make it better, right? Two wrongs don't make a right. So don't lump us all into one group. There are 800,000 police officers in this country. I think just under 745,000, something like that. I might be way off. It's been a few years. But there's no way that one officer does something like Derek Chauvin does something horrible and stupid. And I've seen cops stand up for him, be like, "Oh, well, he wasn't cooperating. He was high. He did this. He died because of what he did." No, it added to it. But there were other things that could have been done that could have stopped it. He was stupid. He did a stupid thing, and he's getting what he deserves now. But don't compare me, Phil Pollen, to Derek Chauvin, because I wasn't there. I didn't do that. I'm an individual, right? And that's where it becomes a problem when it lumps every officer or every person of a type of group into one. Some might call that, if we were a race, racist. Right?
I love the fact that we brought this up because it's been on my mind when we had the last couple chiefs on, and as a civilian, and I didn't want it to become something. And I'm glad that Dr. J asked this question, because I know Chief Roan alluded that, when an officer gets into the media for something bad or that they did incorrectly, every officer feels the effect of it.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that happens. And, I've attended a Black Lives Matter event that my niece had put on. And as I'm listening just to hear what they had to say because that's around the time that all that happened. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm like, it was one officer that, so hang him out to dry. Don't hang the entire police forces out to dry for it.
That's what we do. I mean, there's a lady at McDonald's that spilled hot coffee on her stuff. And the whole world
labeled in every coffee cup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what we do. When a kid gets in school, like, everything's banned.
Knee-jerk reactions. It's just knee-jerk reactions. And with the BLM thing, first and foremost, I'm all for it. I'm all for the BLM movement. And it's right. And what people are understanding is, I'm not saying I'm going to organize marches and facilitate the sort of behavior that has happened at some of them. What I'm saying is that people are misunderstanding what the whole movement is about. It doesn't mean, like, people respond with, "Oh no, all lives matter." It's like, well, yeah, obviously. But what you're not getting is Black Lives Matter doesn't mean that they're the only ones that matter. It means that they're the ones that need to matter right now. Right now, there are things that are happening that make it so that this group of individuals who feel like they've been wronged for hundreds of years need this moment in time for everybody to just shut up and listen. Right? And the problem is, just like any communication breakdown or any issue, is when you have one person that believes something and another group that believes something else, and they're trying to talk, but they won't listen to each other, it's never going to get better, and they're going to butt heads. But when they open up
politics and religion, because they want you to convert to their belief.
Exactly. But when they open up and they're able to actually talk back and forth, they can actually come to an agreement. Right? So when we in Claremont had our BLM march, which was, I actually almost brought tears to my eyes how amazing it was. Not because of anybody's message getting more attention than anybody else's, but because the amount of communication and joint cooperation we had with that group was amazing.
Right.
The group said, "Hey, we want to have this march. It's going to be on this date, this time. This is where we're going to go." Our police department, our command, the chief, the deputy chief went to them and said, "Let's sit down and let's talk." Not about how can we not have this, but how can we help you get your message out there as safely as possible, right? Because that's what their right is. So they sat down, they organized it. We had a few people that were a little bit rowdy, not even associated with that group. And the chief got up and spoke to the group of people at BLM, and he got cheers. And at the end, he said, "If you want change, we are hiring."
Right.
Like, how does it get better than that? I was in a room behind the chief, hidden with tactical gear on, ready to run out there in case something broke loose. And I got to a point where I was like, "Oh, start putting this on. It's hot. Like, I don't even need this. This is amazing."
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
And that's the way they should all be.
100%. 100%. We did a movement where my mom was in Chatham, Ontario. I didn't get to that one, but it was peaceful. Exactly what you said. It was in front of the police station. The police came out. They were talking, just like you had said that was in Claremont, and it was peaceful, right? And people were like, "Oh, what's going to happen?" I know the police force had to have been ready, like you said, just in case. But it was very peaceful. People got to say what they wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, the community came together, and that's what it's all about.
It's awesome.
So love that. We're gonna have you back, Phil, for number 2, because I could go another hour, but unfortunately I don't have the hour at the moment.
As soon as his book comes out, we'll have him right back on. I'll be sitting here with my signed copy in front of my face.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for not only your service, but for coming on and sharing your story with us. There's definitely going to be a part 2. Dr. J, do you have anything else to add?
Just, we're sorry we missed you on Thursday. I know you wanted to see the chief live, but I'm sure you watched it later.
I did. Yep.
Did you have any thoughts?
I just thought it was a great interview. I mean, he's, as always, super professional, always has good things to say, because it's what he's actually feeling and thinking.
Awesome. Okay.
100%.
Cool. Yeah, I just know you're not available on Thursday, so we had to figure this out.
I play Dungeons and Dragons.
I have a colleague who has a doctorate in systemic theology who's writing a book about Dungeons and Dragons, but it's mental health. So
there's a therapy class.
You guys together?
Yeah. There's a class that it's called Geek Therapeutics. And it's for therapists and for dungeon masters, the people that organize the games. Mm-hmm. And the therapist can take a class on how to run Dungeons and Dragons games for therapeutic purposes. Lindsay, my wife, is actually going to be taking the class somewhat soon, and she wants to put it on for her groups of kids at school, because cool. she sees groups at schools too, mm-hmm. and they're kids that don't play, but it's like it walks kids through scenarios and they role play. And it teaches you how to do it as a therapist to come to a good ending that sort of reframes things for the kids.
That is awesome. I love that. That's very cool.
Love that. Wow. This has been an incredible episode. Again, thank you so much for coming on, Phil. And can't wait for episode 2. I know it's coming.
Hang on,
can't
Phil,
wait for the book.
Don't check out when we're done recording.
With that note, guys, see you next week, and bye.